it is part of a broader strategy to deter China, ultimately.
They gutted social programs to funnel money.
Iran is an agent of chaos.
No one denies that, including the Iranians.
We're not planning on occupying Iran.
How do we know that?
President Trump campaigned on this kind of strike explicitly. I love the enthusiasm. Gentlemen, the first topic. It's a claim going around social media at the moment. I think at most one of us on this panel agrees with it. President Trump's strike on Iran is a betrayal of America first.
Yeah.
You agree?
100%. And everyone in this audience knows that. Trump ran explicitly on getting us out of these exact type of regime change wars. He flipped around for some reason. He's literally doing the model that all of the people who supported him said was the opposite of what he was going to do. And this is not surprising. He's done, I know Dan supports Trump a lot, you do too. Yikes, given his record. He's failed over and over on his own campaign promises. I didn't like what he ran on, so it's not surprising that I don't like what he's doing. But anyone in this audience, or the two next to me, the fact that you still support him after he's lied about his affordability agenda, he literally said specifically, by the way, I'll loop this back, but that energy prices would be cut in half in his first year. It's been a year. That didn't happen. Household electricity bills have been increasing significantly. Health insurance premiums skyrocketing. You voted for a bill that Trump introduced. That
I thought we were talking about Iran.
They gutted, hold on. They gutted social programs to funnel money to the wealthy. The point in illustrating that is to explain it's obvious that the character of this man would be that of someone who would violate his own campaign promises on Iran and anything else. And a regime change war in Iran that he can't even exactly articulate what it's for is the epitome of a contradiction from his promises.
All right, Dan, is the Iran strike a betrayal of President Trump's promises of America first?
Well, no, I mean, no, because sure, first of all, people need to define America first. And look, even in our own party, some are saying it's a betrayal of America first. Because some people, I think, defined America first as pretending there's no outside world and saying, like, well, look, if we don't solve every single problem here at home, then there's no way that we can do anything abroad. But that's a contradiction in itself. It's like saying you can't walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. America first means America leading and remaining prosperous and maintaining our prosperity through that security umbrella that we have created since D-Day. D-Day is, I think, one of the most important days in history because it's the day that we decided that we would lead the world. And when we started leading the world, I mean, things got a little bit better. If you look at pre-World War II history and post-World War II history, we don't really have a lot of gratitude, I think, for what has been created since then and the amount of prosperity and luck that we've had since then. And so America First is about maintaining that. And if you're going to, if I were to summarize foreign policy in one word, it's pretty easy. It's stability. And so we want stability. And Iran is an agent of chaos, has been for 47 years, ever since the Islamic Revolution and taking our people hostage, Beirut embassy bombings, killing hundreds and hundreds of soldiers in Iraq, training Taliban to build IEDs that take out people's eyes, and leaving me with so much scar tissue that I have to get nerve surgery like 2.5 weeks ago. So, I mean, Iran is responsible for all of it. And, of course, their peaceful nuclear program that can only be done under 500 feet of bunkered, protected territory. Look, they're creating surrogate warfare via Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Iraqi militias. I mean, it's just constant and never ending. And so, there's a debate over whether this decision is America first or constitutional or legal or whatever. I think the proper way to even address it is to say that it was somewhat inevitable. Because, I mean, it was the natural escalation of things. It was the geopolitics almost gave us no choice in this matter.
Yeah. You agree that Trump specifically ran against stuff like this, though?
No, I would have to point out.
We're not going to go to war with Iran.
I don't think that's obvious. And
we're going to have a great relationship with Iran.
I didn't run Trump's campaign, so I don't really care whether he ran.
Well, that's
on
what
it or
I
not.
didn't run Trump's campaign, but I did pay very close.
Medicaid a second.
I'm talking about.
Like,
I was
I'm
talking
also
about
happy
his
to
history of
debate
lying
on
about his agenda.
I didn't run Trump's campaign. I paid very close attention to it. And so this didn't surprise me at all. Not only was the strike on Iran, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, not only was it not a betrayal of his vision of American first. I support the president with some reservation on Iran, but I support the strategy.
Vince
Well, I'm happy to tell you why if you let me finish.
Yeah, go.
First, though, I have a gift for you, gentlemen. Do you know that? I have one for you. I have one for you.
Thank you.
I have two for me. That would be zbiotics.com/barfight. Folks, I got to tell you about a game-changing product that I discovered thanks to this beautiful show. After a night out, I'm not quite like I used to be, okay? And so, I'm very glad I found Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink. It is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink alcohol, can someone get Dan off the stage, please? When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's the buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break that byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Dan Crenshaw swears by it. Drink responsibly. You'll feel your best tomorrow. Go. It's a marathon of social events this month, folks. Go to zbiotics.com
Drink your fucking
/barfight. And then when Dan bullies you into drinking more at night, you'll feel a lot better the next day. zbiotics.com, code barfight. Okay. I support the president with some reservation on Iran, but I support the strategy.
Vince,
well, I'm happy to tell you why if you let me finish.
Yeah, go.
President Trump ran on these kinds of strikes. President Trump in 2016 ran not on isolation, as Dan rightly points out. He ran on destroying ISIS. So going into the Middle East, intervention to strike down a caliphate. When it comes to Iran, President Trump has campaigned for 10 years. He's said it some 74 times that he will not allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon.
they weren't even close,
He
or
exhausted
potentially even
diplomatic, he exhausted the diplomatic means. He also, during the 2024 campaign, not only he, but J.D. Vance went out there and said they would specifically back an Israeli preemptive strike on Iran. So whether you like it or not, hold on, look, I'll just make this point. Whether you like this or not, President Trump campaigned on this kind of strike explicitly for 10 years. I just gave you all the examples of how he did.
You didn't give any specific examples of
I
him running.
I
This
agree.
is
He campaigned on he campaigned on
and that's what he
no
campaigned against.
occupations because I think look he points out whether right or wrong. I mean because I even disagree with this point, but he says no occupations. Americans are sick of occupations, which is true. That's a political fact, and that's what he did campaign on. So I don't think this, and we're not planning on occupying Iran.
Yep.
How do we know that? Well,
because he's told us.
He's talked
I'm
about.
just telling you what he's been saying for years, which is why it's not a betrayal.
He's talked about regime change. Just striking and killing some of the top leadership obviously doesn't fundamentally transform the government of Iran. And so
worked pretty well in Venezuela recently.
the way that you would he's still negotiating with the current regime. It's not like they got a pro-U.S. regime in power.
They're pro-U.S. now.
Yeah, they got a pro-U.S. leader.
The tankers have landed in Texas with their oil. Like we got them to do what we wanted.
Either in Iran,
actually, we learned the lessons and we did it the right way. We did it precision.
Trump has specifically indicated that he's looking for regime change. Then sometimes he waffles on that, which is a part of this. But I do want to get y'all on this. He's talked about it as a war, not a limited strike. This is different than like Midnight Hammer, for example. And would you not agree that if it was just a limited strike, Midnight Hammer fashion, then number one, it would be over by now, and number two, it would require the nuclear program to have been recreated or that they're trying to build it up.
No, I think that's a total non sequitur.
He said it was obliterated.
I think that's a total non sequitur.
That's what you just brought up with the nuclear program.
That was one casus belli among many.
Prevent them from
but no, you wouldn't need the nuclear program to be rebuilt in order to justify the strike. In fact, the State Department came out.
Okay.
If you'll stop interrupting, I'm happy to explain the point you asked about.
The main reason is nuclear.
One of the casus belli was that they were rebuilding the nuclear program. No one really denies that. No one denies that, including the Iranians. But what they had gotten
absolutely were rebuilding.
They were obviously rebuilding it.
I would also add they were building so many more missiles that it was becoming a problem for our own ability to defend against them, which is why the preemptive strike was necessary.
That was the imminent threat, not the nuclear program. It was the conventional missiles that were protecting the nuclear program.
That were going to strike us.
strike our bases in the Middle East and the Israelis, yes.
And we know for certain, based on multiple intelligence reports, maybe you've been briefed on this, that there wasn't evidence of an imminent threat. You're characterizing one.
You're confusing what we're saying.
We had no evidence that they were actually going to attack us.
You're confusing what we're saying. The threat that we're talking about is the threat from the conventional missiles that they were ramping up tremendously to get to a point of immunity, at which point we would not be able to stop their nuclear program.
Specifically, has
that's what Rubio said yesterday.
Regime change.
That's okay.
Right? And don't you agree that would require a little bit more than just strikes across the country?
You want to talk about the legality?
That would require troops on the ground.
The legality of the War Powers Act is pretty clear. You can do limited action, which is
I didn't say anything about legality.
This is limited action for a term of about 60 days.
At least.
Okay.
And
now you're just saying random stuff.
No, I mean that's not random. That's just the law. So that's
I didn't
the War
bring up
Powers
the law
Act.
yet.
You're asking what he means by war, and you're pointing out that the War Powers Act gives you 60 to 90 days, and many presidents go past it.
Exactly, because you said it was a problem that he said the word war.
No, I didn't say it was a
So I
problem.
assumed that you were talking about the legality of it. And in any case, regime change, war, of course we want regime change. I mean, he did say that, and that is the point. What would be the point of this otherwise?
That's been U.S. grand strategy for 47 years.
That,
right?
You just nailed on it then. Wouldn't that require troops on the ground? Do you think just us
Not
killing a bunch of
necessarily.
leaders
Not
is somehow going to
necessarily.
create a less or a more stable Iranian government?
That's what we did in Venezuela. It took 88 minutes.
Iran's very different than Venezuela.
Yeah, you're right. It might take 88 days in this case, but
you know that for certain.
No, we don't know it for certain. But
depth of their government.
We do know
is
that if
still
you
in place.
eliminate like the first, second, third tier of leadership, which is
But again-
continues to be the goal, their entire navy, and their ability to launch missiles, which is increasingly being destroyed as we're seeing less and less of their ability to send those our way. Yeah, you're creating at least a situation where the Iranian people can figure it out on their own. Is it going to be perfect? Is it going to be as easy as Venezuela? No, it won't be. But it will take this problem off the map. It's also part of a broader strategy, and they don't mention this in the administration, but if you take a step back, it is part of a broader strategy to deter China ultimately, because you're taking people off the chessboard. Okay, there's hundreds of thousands of Chinese workers in Venezuela working the oil and gas industry down there. You know who's not going to be working the oil and gas industry down there anymore? Chinese workers, because our big 5 oil companies are going to be doing it instead. So, and also about 12%, I think, of Chinese energy comes from Iran through their sanctions, sanctioned oil that they give to the Chinese. Taking that off the map is a big deal for our future problem with the Chinese.
furthermore, look at what Putin said hours after the strike on Khamenei. He said, "Hey, by the way, those security guarantees in Ukraine, they look pretty good right now, Trump. How about you just play cool?"
Again,
Also
this
the
is like,
Shahad drones.
This
Do you support?
This
I mean,
is like
that's
the
a question
exact
for you.
same. This is so eerily similar to the justifications that we've heard before with interventions that ended up. I agree.
I agree with that part,
Terrible.
yeah,
I'm
I agree.
glad Khamenei's dead and the regime horrible. But if you watch Trump talk about this, he can't explain what the end goal is.
Can I give you?
Let me finish. What it looks like for this to have been achieved, whatever it is that we're doing, and Libya, Iraq. We had this same thought of, if we take out some of the leaders in this government, things are going to get better, and we made them worse.
So
and we had obviously American lives lost. That's already happened.
Look, I'll say probably the only time tonight I'll say I actually agree with you. Look, it's a preemptive war based on, in part at least, on the threat of weapons of mass destruction, aiming at regime change in a country that starts IRA. So I totally grant you there are some similarities here. However, Trump has acknowledged that, and one of the big differences here is, one, President Trump's grand strategy is not idealistic. It's not about spreading Madisonian democracy. In fact, if you read the national security strategy from November, he points out it's pragmatic but not pragmatist. It's realistic, but it's not unprincipled. He has an unideological foreign grand strategy, and the point of it is, and he's been campaigning for 10 years, is to improve America's position in the world. If he can get Iran firing on every Gulf state, bring the Gulf states together with Israel and other American interests, which he started to do in the first term. It's already happened. I mean, it's happened in the last 5 days. That is manifestly different from Bush.
That means our idea of stability too. I mean, again, going back to
We're just
basics here.
destabilizing the region.
No, we didn't. We just
Pulling in all the
stabilized it
countries
in our
to a war.
favor. We stabilized it in our favor.
I want to destabilize this panel right now by going to the microphone. That was a great clip. You know what's even better? The full episode. That's what. And you can only get that at Daily Wire Plus. So you need to become a Daily Wire Plus member. You get the whole episode
it gets crazy. It gets crazy, it gets sick, it gets shocking, it gets informative. It gets that and so much more. You need to become a Daily Wire Plus member right now. Go watch the whole episode.